Hey Jeepers, welcome back to the channel. So you might notice, obviously you notice, the banner in the background from Barricade Off-Road. They're now one of our sponsors. By sponsors, I mean they give me a discount on their parts as long as I use them on my Jeep. And I guess there's some other benefits I don't know about yet. I've read through, they don't say anything specific, but looking forward to those. So amazingly today, I took advantage of their discounts and I purchased some fender flares. As you can tell, Dargo doesn't have any fender flares right now. Well, that's not a thing with me. So we're going to be installing the Barricade flat style fender flares. Now these aren't as wide as my tires, but they're going to protect the body a little bit. It just looks better with fender flares. I chose these. These are plastic. They're less expensive than the metal tube fenders I was thinking about. These are, I don't know if they're a breakaway design or not, but if I hit something hard enough, these fender flares will probably pop off if I tank into a tree or something, because these are attached, as you'll see later in the video, with the push clips, similar to what your grill is attached with. Those little plastic tree clips that you put in and then you push the center in to hold them in place. Well, that's what these are attached with. So you know what, let's get to it. Okay, so believe it or not, I've actually read these directions. I laid these out according to where these went. I put my driver's side front, my driver's side rear, passenger front, passenger rear. Now, a little common sense tells you you put them where they line up with the holes. So this will make it a little bit easier, because in the directions they tell you, oh, this is the driver, passenger, and it says A times 2. So that's the front fender flares, back fender flares, and they've got drivers and passenger. But they're not marked in any way that coincides with the directions. I mean, it's got PF, no, this is DF, and they basically tell you if it's driver, passenger, front, or rear. Then they leave it to you to figure out, and use some common sense. You just refer back to this, and you make notes like I did here, like this is the top front, lower front, etc. So I'd suggest doing that, laying it out on a table like I did here, and then going from there. Let's try that again. Okay, so now I've got the brackets for the front fender flare, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and I put these little marks like this to show me where these brackets go. Now these brackets have a long side and a short side. The short side goes against the Jeep with the long side sticking out to where it's going to try to center itself on the bracket. It's not going to get close to the center of the fender flare, but we're going to mount these bolts through from the front, because all the holes in this front fender we can reach the back of with a wrench. So we're going to use bolts for every hole to put these on. Alright guys, so my camera didn't work for this one scene where we were putting these on. So this is what it looks like after you get this on. Your brackets are here. Again, the long bracket is what attaches to the flare. The short attaches to the mounting. When you tighten these down, don't over tighten them, because we don't want to break these, because it is only plastic. So you just tighten it down till it's good and snug, so we're not getting a lot of movement. When you tug on these brackets, it should move the fender. I've got the long piece in the front, and then the short straighter piece goes down the back. Total of 5 brackets to hold the fender flare on. Okay, and now we're going to move on to the rear. Let's see, this is the middle, this is the back, this is the front. Alright, what I did was I went ahead And I mounted these brackets because they want you to do this with your nuts out. Excuse me, not that kind of channel. All right, so I went ahead and I mounted these brackets, putting the bolts in from the rear, because where these bolts are, there aren't always holes. As you can see, there's not a hole there, so you don't want the bolt protruding. It would stick into the back. It won't fit that way. So you put the nut on the front and the bolt in through the rear, and the bracket's mounted. And I went ahead and did this according to the instructions rather than trying to come out here and figure it out as I was doing. There are only 2 bolts that hold this in. Another thing is, if you can look here, some of these are deeper than the others and these are shallow. The shallow ones are the ones where your brackets go on the rear mounts. This is a lot easier to tell from the front, but it's not that difficult. You just read the instructions, look at the pictures. You don't even need to read. Then we're going to go ahead and put these bolts in here. Again, we're not going to tighten these till we test fit the flares, because then after we do that, we can tighten them down and put it goes right here, the beading or whatever it is. Now these are the push tabs I was telling you about. These go on here, and you have to figure out, are these going to line up or not? These look pretty good. I will tell you, I've already done the passenger side, and these did not all line up properly. So you take it, push it, it's in. When I got to the other side, I guess the plastic might have warped, or I'm not sure. I mean, the rest of the flare fit fine. Oh, I see, they drilled these a little differently. It was difficult to get in, just like this one. Yep, this one doesn't line up. Yeah, we're going to have to re-drill that one. Yep, this one does not line up. Here we go. Now I got to put this back part on. Let's see, how does this look? Oh, that looks good. Got to be careful. If you push on these the wrong way, they don't line up. What happens is these go down and it starts to expand. It doesn't want to go in. You got to pull them back just a little bit. Don't put pressure on the outside. There we go. Okay, so we've got these marker lights. We want to straighten out the wires so they reach all the way in so we can splice them once we get the fenders just about on. I take these and push them down in. We have enough that we can reach to wire these up. Sure you don't over tighten. You don't want to break these. Don't know that they readily sell replacements for this. There we go. Now we just got to get that gasket on. But we're not going to pull that strip just yet. We're going to stretch this around, make sure we cut it because we don't want to end up short. I've heard where people say, oh, I was a foot short. Well, you might have done it in the cold and it didn't want to work. It didn't want to expand for you so you could get it in place. Just stretch a little bit when the time comes. Okay, this definitely is not fun. We're going to go ahead, and it seems to fit better with the glue strip on the inside. So that's the way I'm going to keep going. But problem is, this being shipped in the back of a truck in this Florida heat has made it want to stick to itself. But it's still pliable, and we will fight through this. And when we get done, all we're going to do is going to reach down here and pull this little red strip off to the side there. That. And all you do is just continue to pull that along the entire time, pressing, making sure that it's sticky and in place. I'm going to go ahead and finish this. I'm not going to make you watch me do this. So we're going to use these little splicers here. Splice these wires together. Alright, we'll put it back on again. And all you do is line these up. Put your push pins in. And repeat all the way back to Fender. And again, it's not like there's a lot to be tightened because I've only got two. Remember, it's just plastic. We don't want to break it. Get those little brackets inside your fender flare. Inside. And we're just going to slide this up and over a little bit at a time. That's neat. I can reach up through the back of it now. Let's go ahead and get one of these pins started if we can. There's one in the front, top middle here would be nice. I'm not gonna lie, this isn't easy. There we go. Looks pretty much in place. Now this is a little easier to see. You can muscle those brackets just a little bit. Okay, well you just line them up and pop these things in place. Oh, there we go. That should do it. Well guys, that wraps up the Barricade flat fenders, so have a nice day. Wow, I gotta chop this video up. You can, what is it? Alice sponsored. Oh my goodness.